Hello and welcome. You're watching To The Point. Suddenly, the government seems to face multiple problems. GDP growth has slowed down, land acquisition amendments have been reversed, GST is on hold and no one knows when and if it will happen. On top of that, talks between India and Pakistan have collapsed amongst bitterness and acrimony. OROP has created serious differences between the government and the armed services, and now more recently there are also differences between the senior civil service and the government over abrupt changes in top senior civil servants. And finally, Patel agitation in Gujarat poses perhaps the greatest challenge to the BJP since 1998. So today, is the government a bit like a plane that's trapped in turbulence? Is it flying through a bad patch? That's the key issue I should explore today with the Environment Minister, Prakash Javadekar. Mr. Javadekar, with so many things going wrong together, is the government like a plane flying through turbulence, shaken from side to side?
No, I really don't agree with this perception that we are passing through a turbulence. See, politics is a dynamic situation. Always it will evolve in a different fashion. So we are always ready for such situations. So there are, as you described, it's not everywhere we have backtracked. No way. Actually, we have made movement forward, even on land acquisition bill.
I'll come to land acquisition in a moment's time because I want to go through each of the problems one by one. But first, a general question. Is it not unusual for a government at the same time to have GDP slowing down, reforms stalled, talks with Pakistan collapsed and bitterness there instead, trouble with the defense services over OROP, trouble with the civil servants because you've been changing top civil servants, and then a major agitation in Gujarat, your stronghold, as a result of which you faced your worst challenge. All of this at one go?
No, but that is what I am suggesting, that this is, as you are articulating, and you articulate good way, but this is not the picture as of is emerging. When we discuss each issue, I'll tell you, this is not what is actually happening on ground. What is happening is, yes, there will be always 2-3 situations, and we are dealing with it very proficiently and pro-people way.
All right, let's then come to each of these issues one by one, and let's start with land acquisition. You passed an ordinance 3 times?
Yes.
As recently as June, the finance minister said that if there was a problem, he would go to a joint session to make sure land acquisition amendments happened. And then you allowed the ordinance to lapse and you've gone right back to the 2013 law. This is a major setback for the government.
No, you have missed out that we made a major change by executive order. The Congress bill of 2013 was absolutely against the interest of the farmers, because in 13 kinds of acquisition, which constitute nearly 70% of acquisition, was not offering farmers the compensation or the renewed forum. No, let me complete. No, I'll come to that. What Modi ji, by giving executive order on the day when we declared that we are not repeating this, on 31st August, we made a pro-friendly gesture first, which was very essential part of the ordinance.
Okay, let me put it like this. First of all, the 13 acts that need to be amended were part of the 2013 law. It's not something new that Mr. Modi thought about. Secondly,
no, but their compensation was not offered on the new formula. We are given it.
But
that's the major change.
The most important thing about the ordinance you had passed, the most important thing about the amendments that you've now gone back on, was that consent clause was going to be dropped, social impact assessment was going to be dropped. Both of those have come back. And that's why I say to you,
no,
this is a major reversal, a setback.
No, that is where you are making something, you are not keeping track with what is actually happened on the ground. After 3 times we pronounced the ordinance, what happened was, promulgation of ordinance, what happened was Niti Aayog meeting, and in which all chief ministers also were part of it. And
not Congress chief ministers.
No, but okay, somebody boycotts, that doesn't make the exercise original as undemocratic. So it's their choice. The issue is all agreed that it should be left to the state. So we believe in the cooperative federalism, and I am very sure Congress states will also. Congress states also will do that.
ये तो आज politician की कहने की बात है. You're putting a brave face on it. The truth is this. Listen to what the Prime Minister said on the 22nd of March in his Man Ki Baat. He said the land acquisition amendments that he was determined to push were in the best interests of farmers.
Correct.
और पिछले Sunday का कहा, dropping the land acquisition is in the best interests of farmers. He can't have it both ways.
No.
He contradicted himself.
No, he said last Sunday very categorically that we wanted to do this pro-farmers thing, but उसमें भ्रम फैलाया गया. अगर भ्रम के कारण किसी को भ्रांति होती है या भ्रम होता है तो वो भ्रम हम नहीं रखना चाहते. So we have made very things clear now. So states are empowered to take call on social study and consent clause.
भ्रम फैलाया गया, fear was spread. That means that what you're saying, even if you're not using those words, you as a government got rattled by Rahul Gandhi's claim of सूट बूट की सरकार.
No.
आप डर गए, राहुल गांधी ने आपको डराया और आप अपने land amendment से भाग गए.
Absolutely wrong. I don't know where Rahul is now. Presently, I have not heard last week because he takes sabbatical more often. But more importantly,
he frightened you with सूट बूट की सरकार.
No, absolutely not. It is on the other way around. Every time he opens his mouth, it goes in our favor, because every time people ask him, wherever he goes, that what you were doing for 10 years.
Take it,
and there is nothing, because they made the worst.
इस बार जब उन्होंने आपको सूट बूट की सरकार कह के डराया तो he frightened you.
No.
You ran away from your amendments.
On the other hand, they ran away from debate, they ran away from parliament, they ran away from everything, because they have adopted a policy of destructive politics. They have adopted.
Listen to what your Prime Minister said on the 22nd of March before Soot Boot Ki Sarkar. We have tried to improve the law. Who would say that this amendment is against the farmers? We are eliminating the drawbacks of the law and work in the direction of the betterment of farmers. और फिर क्या करते हैं? 3 महीने बाद वही चीज आप छोड़ जा रहे हैं.
नहीं,
You're leaving it. You're running away from it.
We are not leaving it. We have taken 2 steps forward. First, by executive order, we have given justice to farmers on 13 acquisitions, which Congress had denied.
And the second?
And second is, we have given right to the states to decide their own way. So that's the basic way forward.
But the fact that you were taking such pride from that you were doing away with social impact,
I'll come to that. I'll come to that.
You can't do. You run away from it.
No, because Congress had adopted destructive politics. By having little majority in Rajya Sabha, they want to stall the progress of the nation. Now we have exposed them. And what they have done worst is, now they thought that we can stop and halt the progress. But we have decided that no, progress won't be stalled.
Mantri Sahab, you're blaming it on Congress. The truth is, and you know this better than me, you were also checked by your political allies, the Akali Dalit, the Shiv Sena. They refused to remove the consent clause. And secondly, you were checked by your ideological allies, the Bharatiya Mazdoor Sangh, the Bharatiya Kisan Sangh and the Swadeshi Jagran Manch. They insist that the social impact assessment must stay, and they are not prepared to accept the elimination of the consent clause. So it's not just Congress, your own allies have stopped you.
But they didn't interfere us in parliament. The issue is, we are a democratic setup. That's the best part of the story. We are not a family party. We are not one family party.
आप डेमोक्रेसी की पुकार सुन के ऑर्डिनेंस आपने छोड़ दिया.
नहीं, ऑर्डिनेंस इसलिए छोड़ने की क्योंकि ऑर्डिनेंस की अब जरूरत नहीं रही.
तो फिर ये मुझे बताइए, was the ordinances passed 3 times a mistake? क्या वो गलती थी आपकी?
No, because ultimately public debate goes forward as the time passes. And when you find a situation, you find an answer also. And Niti Aayog and CMs provided the answer.
Even if you go zigzag. जब वो जरूरत थी मैंने वो किया, जब कुछ और था तो मैंने ये किया. In other words, you are like a football or a shuttlecock. कोई आपको यहाँ से मारता है, वापस आपको यहाँ से मारता है. The government is being tossed around.
It is the public interest in mind which guides us continuously, and we don't stop. If somebody resists, we go ahead with our original plan in a different fashion.
If the public interest made it necessary to drop the ordinance, then surely it's the case that you were against the public interest when you brought the ordinance. You can't have it both ways.
Yes, it is both ways, because they are not 2 ways. This is only one way. And one way is public interest. I'll tell
this
you.
is heads I win, tails you lose.
No,
Isn't
it is not
That's what
head
you're
and
saying.
tail. It is head and head because I'll tell you what it is. It is essentially the farmers' interests we have in mind, and we have taken it forward by executive order and giving freedom to the states.
Let me ask you one last question on land acquisition before I move. I'm going to quote to you one of India's most respected economic commentators, Swaminathan Ankaleshwari Arya. He writes in the Economic Times. The whole country listens to him and reads him. In an article on the 5th of August called A Petrified Prime Minister, this is what he wrote. The land acquisition fiasco reveals Mr. Modi as frightened and indecisive, happier retreating than fighting to the finish. What's your reply to Mr. Iyer?
No, that is freedom of thought. And that is why anybody can express freely. That is India. That is Modi's government which allows...
But is he right? Has the Prime Minister taken fright?
No.
Is the Prime Minister retreating?
That is his... I don't agree with what he said, but he has right to say what he wants to say. And that's what we grant.
But does it worry you that many people, industrialists in India, investors abroad, will read him and believe him, and it will determine how they think your government stands?
No, actually now there are so many things which country decides and country reads and country emphasizes that I really don't but I understand. But let me tell you, country is well behind its Prime Minister and his vision, and people share it.
All right, let's then come to a second reform that stalled, and that is a cause of great concern, GST. You can't tell me when it will be passed. You can't give me any assurance it will roll out on the 1st of April 2016. What we have suddenly on GST is uncertainty and doubt. And that is a very unhappy position for a government to be in, particularly when GST was one of your critical reforms.
Yeah, but GST was a country's critical reform. It's not only BJP's critical reform. Let us understand. It was the bill put by the Congress, and now Congress is backtracking, backsliding, and it has adopted a disruptive. Individually, you speak to any Congress leader, say we are on board, we want GST to be rolled on 1st April 2016. But what can we say? The party has decided. That's the helplessness.
आप कांग्रेस पे blame लगा रहे हैं, वो आपका हक है as a politician. मैं आपसे ये पूछना चाहता हूँ. You know and I know that this was originally a Congress initiative. You know and I know that in theory Congress supports it. But if you haven't been able to get Congress to stand behind your version of the bill, I put it to you, have you done enough to reach out? Or did pride and obstinacy come in the way of Mr. Modi contacting personally Sonia and Rahul?
No, he contacts on various important issues to all leaders and all chief ministers. But GST already Arun Jaitley as a finance minister has deliberated with all leaders, and as a parliamentary affairs minister Venkaiah Naidu has. In his also now also they are in touch with.
मैं मान रहा हूँ आपकी बात कि Arun Jaitley and Venkaiah Naidu have been in touch. वो मैं मान रहा हूँ. I'm not denying it. But this is a problem of prestige and pride now. You know that and I know that. Surely, if GST is so important and it's the heart of your economic agenda, why doesn't Mr. Modi pick up the phone, contact Sonia and say, we may have problems between us, personal or political, but don't hold the country up. Please support GST, particularly since it was your idea. वो phone call Modi साहब क्यों नहीं कर रहे?
Because, as you know very well, I don't know whether he has made call or not, or whether he will.
He hasn't.
No, we don't know. And I don't think that everybody will be going ahead and tell whether somebody has called or not. The issue is very simple. They asked Modi to say something on Sadhvi Niranjan. And when he said it very clearly that we disapprove this and I apologize on, but then they started, you now sack her. So that is how.
So this is a case of once bitten twice shy. क्योंकि साध्वी निरंजन ज्योति पे एक तरह का आपको धोखा मिला, इसलिए अब मोदी साहब is not going to pick up the phone and speak to Sonia, even though GST is more important.
I said actually you don't know and I don't know whether somebody is talking to somebody.
But is there any possibility he will? Is there any possibility Mr. Modi will?
Politics is all of art of possibilities.
If you were the Prime Minister, I'm convinced you would have got Sonia Gandhi and Rahul Gandhi to agree. You have that capacity, you have that touch. The problem is, many people think Modi साहब में एक तरह का आकड़ है, एक तरह की घमंड है, जिसके कारण वो फोन नहीं उठा रहे.
घमंड कांग्रेस में है, tease कांग्रेस में है, and I can understand they are defeated, but they should come out of it now and that's the public verdict.
Are
But
you-
they are not coming out of it, and therefore they have adopted a destructive politics which we condemn.
Are you blaming Congress for the failure for GST?
Yes,
Entirely.
absolutely.
And you don't accept that you could have done more to reach out? You don't accept that you could have accommodated their concerns?
Accommodated concerns on all issues, we are already doing
Well,
it.
there are two that you haven't, but I don't want to go into details of that. But the two, for the sake of the audience, are one, capping at 18%, and secondly, abolishing the 1% interstate entry tax. Those you are adamant about. In fact, Arun Jaitley dismisses them as afterthoughts.
Because originally when the standing committee did their elaborate exercise, when other committees did, and when they put their bill, they never suggested these things. Now suddenly as an afterthought, if they are bringing in new things just to stall the bill, that is nothing but destructive politics.
Tell me this. Can you tell me whether we will have a special session to pass GST, or is GST not going to happen till at least the winter session?
I think this is now, in 1 or 2 days, you will know whether special session is happening or not.
लेकिन
And
आपके
therefore,
जवाब में कॉन्फिडेंस नहीं, आप हौसले से नहीं कह रहे. You are just playing for time when you say in 2 or 3 days.
I'm not, because
numbers आपके साथ नहीं है, number नहीं है आपके साथ.
who told you?
मैं आपको कह रहा हूँ.
See, we will prove one day.
One day, but
one day
कब?
means now also, Congress should not take that they have the majority.
ये मंत्री साहब
They are a
bluff और
defeated party.
bravado है.
They are a
This-
defeated party. People have given mandate to Narendra Modi government, and therefore we will abide by people's wishes, and we have ways to do
All right.
and accomplish it.
You're sounding brave, you're sounding bold. I put it to you, this is actually bluff and bravado, and I'll tell you why. In June, when Mr. Jaitley went to America, he said, and I'm quoting him, land, labor and taxation. These are the three main areas where reforms are absolutely necessary.
Then
His
we are
words.
going ahead.
Now just look at the situation. Land, you've
Land, we
reversed.
have given it to states.
Land, you've reversed.
They will do, and we will win it.
Land, you've reversed. It's an excuse
No.
you're giving it to the states.
Because
GST
that is where the
GST
execution will happen.
GST
so
is
all
stalled.
states will accept it.
GST is stalled.
No.
And any thoughts that you have, on labor reform have actually produced a nationwide strike today by 10
No.
trade unions.
Actually, the talks, and BM is today not part of the strike because
But other
the
10 are,
no,
the other
but
10 are,
that
Into
doesn't
case, A2 case, C2 is.
no, but that doesn't make any difference because on the very critical issues of minimum wages, of contractual labor, on providing social security, I think this government is taking a leap and bound measures in leap and bound, and therefore I think this is the most pro-labor friendly government.
You may be pro-labor and friendly because you're not doing the things that industrialists hoped you would, like GST and like land acquisition
GST will
amendments.
happen.
Let me tell you this.
GST will happen
Yesterday-
and happen sooner than later, and I still believe that on 1st April 2016 we'll roll it out.
Yesterday, senior top industrialists like Rahul Bajaj, like R.C. Bhargav, the chairman of Maruti, said that they feared your economic agenda could be falling apart. That's the reason why today you face a problem. Suddenly, the industrialists who supported you believe that you're not living up to expectations. You're
No.
disappointing them.
The world situation, which is a volatile situation, is not India's creation, number one. Number two, we are the only fastest growing economy, and even with 7% of last quarter, we are the fastest growing.
You're slowing down actually
you
from
don't-
7.5 to 7.
See, if you
and who
go
knows where you'll be next
only
quarter.
Next quarter,
Remember,
you
the
can be
monsoons are against
7.5.
you. The monsoons are
But
against you.
that-
The international
no.
situation is against you.
But
you could fall.
But then you should actually appreciate Modi government's efforts to stabilize and take it forward with 7%.
Let's move beyond the economic problems you face. Let's come to OROP. Mr. Modi has repeatedly promised OROP. Mr. Parikar has promised it. Mr. Jaitley has promised it. But instead of satisfying ex-servicemen, they are on a hunger strike in Jantar Mantar for 80 days. They are now threatening anti-BJP campaigns in Bihar when the election campaign begins. And most importantly, former Army, Navy, Air Force chiefs are writing public letters to the PM and the President expressing their concern about the impact on relations with ex-servicemen and more importantly, their impact on morale of serving officers and jawans. How have you let yourself come to this dreadful position?
I'll tell you that we will deliver OROP to the satisfaction of all sooner than the latter, as I said.
When you say to the
Because-
satisfaction of all, will you
Means-
be able to meet the demand of the ex-servicemen?
See, to the satisfaction of all is what is justifiable and what is convincing. We'll take everybody on board.
The second you add the words what is justifiable and what is convincing, you're finding excuses and clever backdoor ways of moving out of your promise.
See, after all, you are doing justice to the society as a whole. And in that, the injustice done by Congress regime for over 60 years on ex-servicemen, we will remove that injustice.
6 साल तो बीच में अटल बिहारी वाजपेयी की सरकार थी, उनकी भी injustice मान जाइएगा, उनकी भी मान जाइएगा, उन्होंने भी कुछ नहीं किया OROP।
लेकिन 50 years कांग्रेस की सरकार है सर।
6 तो आपकी थी।
लेकिन 50 years is much 10 times more.
अच्छा मुझे ये बताइए, you know what people believe? That actually you have comprehensively tackled OROP badly. First, Mr. Modi made a promise without realizing what it entailed. Then Mr. Modi and the ministers insisted they would fulfill that promise, although in their heart they knew it was difficult, if not impossible. And now you're trying to dilute it, but you're not admitting to that fact. At every point, you're contradicting yourself, and this is the problem. You're losing faith and trust as far as ex-servicemen are concerned.
I don't think so. Ultimately, when the OROP will be granted, all ex-servicemen will be happy.
कब होगा ये?
As I said, very soon. I am not
very soon का
Jyotishi.
क्या मतलब?
Very soon का मतलब as early as possible.
जी, as early as possible is what?
As early, there is. I am not a Jyotishi to tell you the date exactly, because there has to be a reason.
यहाँ पे ज्योतिषी की जरूरत है. You need an astrologer to be able to say इस साल, अगले साल, 5 साल के बाद.
No, because I am very sure that both the sides, means the ex-servicemen also, will see the reason and will agree to it.
This is very interesting. When you say ex-servicemen will see the reason, you're depending on them actually accepting something less than what you promised.
No.
ये तो आप कह जा रहे हैं अब.
We will deliver what we promised. But what is the...
will you deliver the full OROP as the ex-servicemen have asked?
Ex-servicemen have asked different interpretations. There are different
interpretations आपके हैं. Ex-servicemen say there is only one interpretation.
No.
The same pension for
Arun
officers
Jaitley,
retiring in the same rank after the same length of service with annual upgrades to ensure they keep up with everyone else.
But that annual upgradation is an issue.
That's one issue.
So that's one issue,
the
but that is important issue.
The date of implementation is a second issue.
No, but so there are always technical details in every issue. But Arun Jaitley has made very clearly that we want to give OROP, we are committed to do it. But this updation every year is an issue.
Let me put it like this, and this is probably the real problem. In the end, I don't doubt you will offer some form of OROP, no one's doubting it. But you'll probably end up with the worst of all worlds. First of all, you'll be pushed under pressure to offering more than Arun Jaitley thinks is wise, therefore there will be a strain on the national finances. And secondly, whatever you offer will be far less than what the ex-servicemen want, so they'll be disappointed, and worse still, they will be resentful. You'll have an economic problem and you will not have satisfaction that you will have given. That's the problem.
And the fine capability of politics is not to have both. And we will end up with everybody supporting the government.
You know, you're so right when you say that the fine art of politics is to avoid both. Then will you concede this, that at the moment, you've handled that fine art of politics so badly, it looks as if you'll have both problems together. Resentment and also a financial strain.
No, because the final solution is, you will see in few days, the issue is very clear that current to articulate this way is a skilled job, and you are a skilled
You're flattering me to avoid answering my question.
No.
I thank you for that, but I'm coming back to my question as you smile. You're a very honest man. I know that from personal experience. Will you accept one thing, even though it's difficult? The government could have handled OROP better. It's not to maan jaye.
No, yeah, actually, OROP, see, you can't judge everybody's reactions. So, after 10 years of Congress rejection, the patience of ex-servicemen has
How lucky you have Congress rule to blame for all your faults.
No, it is not my fault.
Okay.
It is their fault which we are correcting.
Let's take a pause at that point, Mr. Javadekar. When I come back, I want to talk to you about Hardik Patel and the threat he poses to the BJP in Gujarat, your faltering relations with the civil service here in Delhi, and finally, relations with Pakistan. They were so promising after UFA, and now suddenly, because I say you mishandled them, they've collapsed completely. Answering the critical question, is the government suddenly like a plane trapped in ambulance? Is it going through a bad patch? Let's move beyond OROP. There's something else that's happened in the last 2 weeks, and it's probably come as a body blow to the BJP. I'm talking about Hardik Patel and the Patel agitation in Gujarat. Gujarat is your stronghold. But Hardik Patel and this agitation is perhaps the biggest and most serious challenge you faced from 1995 or definitely from 1998. Can you accept that?
Let me tell you, in our country, in our political parameters, the caste and religion have a terrific potency to create a stir, an agitation. And you see in Kishanganj, OIC could gather 5 lakh people for his rally, and Lalu Prasad and Nitish are unsettled.
जी, लेकिन आप गुजरात पे लौटे।
No, but
आप
I'm
बिहार
coming
ना
to
जाएं,
Gujarat.
गुजरात पे आएं।
I'm coming to Gujarat. What I am saying is, the political truth is, the caste and religion has terrific potential of creating a stir.
But you knew this. You ruled Gujarat for 18
But that is what
unbroken
I am
years.
coming
You
to
knew
that.
this.
One
Why
minute.
did you let it happen?
No, but let me tell you, this is not going to stay permanently. See, there are aspirations of people.
But it's doing damage in the short term
No,
to BJP. That's
I
the
don't-
point.
No.
Who knows what happens in the long term? You may not even survive the next elections if this
One
carries
minute,
on.
you see what is the public mood is through elections. So every election,
And
you
the
will have
public
it.
mood is created by movements like this before elections. And this movement that brought out 500,000 people in Ahmedabad seriously threatens the hold of the BJP on that state.
I really don't count, because you can't have only one voice and only one party. So there is a party which is ruling, which is doing good for Gujarat, but
Mantri
there
Sahab.
will always
Mantri
be
Sahab.
some
Sahab.
elements or some sections who have some aspirations may come together.
me give you
That
some-
is, I don't see this in a bad light.
I'll tell you why you should see it in a bad light. Just let me give you some facts that show how badly it will hit you. 30% of your government in Gujarat is Patel, including the chief minister. 32% of your MLAs are Patel. 23% of your MPs from Gujarat are Patel. If
So-
suddenly the Patel community were to move away from supporting you, or even if that was to be diminished and not lost completely,
See-
you would lose the elections probably whenever they happen.
No, but it will not happen like that, because
ये हौसला कहाँ से आ रहा है
politics
आपको?
doesn't-
ये हौसला कहाँ से आ रहा है कि it
बिकॉज
won't
अनुभव
happen?
के आधार पे हम सामाजिक जेपी मूवमेंट से लेकर एवरी मूवमेंट वी हैव स्टडीड in depth, even in 75 when Gujarat happened. Before that, Navnirman happened.
And you were equally confident in 2004 with Shining India, and you lost. You didn't even expect to lose. You lost. You were horrified. The same thing could happen in Gujarat.
ऐसा है, if somebody wants to take pleasure in predicting that we will lose, then he has the freedom to take it. But it is not a fact.
Let me tell you a second reason why Hardik Patel and his movement is a danger to you. It's not just what it will do in Gujarat, which is your stronghold. He wants to expand it to cover the Kurmis in Bihar, the Gujars and the Jats in Rajasthan and Haryana. Secondly, he's saying he's going to hold a rally in Jantar Mantar here at the center of the capital. Thirdly, he's already begun appropriating Sardar Patel as his icon. Mr. Modi's claim on Sardar Patel is now being challenged by a 22-year-old boy. That makes it a nationwide problem for you, not just a Gujarat-based problem.
No, I don't agree with your question, only because my experience tells that what Modi is trying to build in this country, and which everybody must appreciate, is caste or religion to play its role in social hierarchy, but not in politics. And therefore, he is building a country on the plank of development. So there are always other planks, and some people
The
want
plank
to
of
take that.
development I've just spent 15 minutes arguing is a plank that's getting broken up into non-delivery by Mr. Modi's own failures on land acquisition, on labor, on GST.
On all these fronts, we are moving forward, and we will deliver justice.
Okay.
People of this country and poor of this country want justice. Even Ahmedabad agitation also, I look in from the angle that there are growing aspirations of people. They want faster progress.
Let's come to one other problem that will affect your government critically. You know better than me as a minister that governments depend upon the performance of the civil service. What you've done in the last 14 months, and most importantly, what you've done in the last 48 hours, has shaken the civil service. You've unsettled them, you've made them uncomfortable, and you've created a strain between them and you. That will ensure that instead of getting their full cooperation, they will be resentful.
Actually, this situation is exactly reverse of what you are suggesting, because he is the first Prime Minister who is interacting and taking bureaucracy into confidence on many occasions. And I'll just tell you which nobody knows, but every time when he started as a Prime Minister, he sat with each minister and the secretary of the
14 महीने पहले की बात है सर.
No, but now let
आजकल
me
वो
tell you.
चीजें नहीं हो रही.
हो रही
वो
है.
हुई थी एक जमाने में, अब नहीं हो रही.
No. Even today, every
Now
month,
you're issuing circulars from the DIPP to civil servants to say please don't write directly. वो भी कह रहे हैं आप. वो contact के दिन गए.
We are.
अब तो दरवाजा बंद है.
Every month, Pragati happens. A video conference with all chief secretaries and all secretaries. Not only that, there are continuous review meetings. And where PM also interacts with bureaucracy. So first time bureaucrats are experiencing that their views have an ear and their views value.
All right, this is very interesting. You're saying for the first time the bureaucracy believes their views have a ear and their views have value. You know how the bureaucracy looks at the situation? You've been in power for 14 months. In that period, 2 home secretaries have been dismissed, 1 foreign secretary has been dismissed, 1 finance secretary has been transferred first to tourism and then to minority affairs, and a revenue secretary has also been transferred. In addition, you've had multiple transfers at the secretary level.
This is routine transfers.
No.
These things happen. There is nothing
Can I
much to be read
Can I tell you what yesterday a former cabinet secretary Surendra Singh said on this program? He said that this is unsettling the bureaucracy. Secondly, he said this shows this government doesn't know how to treat and how to relate with senior civil servants. That's what a senior former cabinet secretary
so that
Surendra
is his
Singh
opinion.
said.
But that doesn't reflect the true picture of the facts as of today.
The problem is many
You
other
go to every
serving civil
secretary.
servants may share his opinion.
No, many know. Actually, overwhelming civil servants today working are most happy with this Prime Minister.
Let me put it again like this. You know better than me that the post of Home Secretary, Defense Secretary and Foreign Secretary are supposed to have a 2-year fixed tenure. In 14 months, 3 times you've broken that assurance of a fixed tenure. And someone like G.K. Pillai, a former Home Secretary, said on this program yesterday that this shows your government is looking for yes men. That is not a nice thing for former Home Secretaries to be saying, but he's saying it publicly without hesitation.
No, but that's what our government offers, that nobody can stop from expressing their feelings. The issue is...
But the problem is when they do, you dismiss them.
No.
L.C. Goyal after 7 months.
No, but because every case has some reason or something, some other facts, which you must get from the... these things are not revealed by government or the concerned bureaucrat, because others, those who are retired, are free to talk.
Let me come to my last of the problems that I want to discuss with you. There are so many, it's been a long list. The collapse of India-Pakistan talks. Mr. Modi took great pride in the UFA statement. I was amongst those who wrote to say that this was a signal victory. Thereafter, the small-mindedness of the government ensured that instead of building on UFA and achieving good results, you made a sticking point of 2 silly things. Not wanting Pakistan to talk about Kashmir when you know it would embarrass Nawaz Sharif not to do it. And second, them to meet Hurriyat when you know Hurriyat is irrelevant and it doesn't count. In those choti cheezon ke piche, you've lost the UFA victory you got.
No, UFA victory is an important thing. We want
But it's
to,
gone.
we wanted
It's gone.
to take it further.
It's gone. It's gone.
No,
It's gone.
it's not, because Pakistan did the same thing. See, right from what was the difference between Congress and BJP? In Atalji's time also, we made a point that our talks will be terror-centric and not Kashmir-centric.
माफ करिए, अटल जी के ज़माने की अगर आप बात कर रहे हैं, तो जब आगरा समझौता होने का वक्त आया था और आगरा was to be on Kargil, not just terror but on war, General Musharraf met Hurriyat the night before at a formal function in Ashraf Qazi's home. He met him, and he not only met him at a reception, afterwards he met Hurriyat for talks in the home, separate to the reception. And Atalji had no objection at all.
No,
because Atalji realized
ultimately
Musharraf has his own problems also.
You know the history why he was sent packing from Agra and why he withdrew. Because...
It had nothing to do with Hurriyat.
No, but it was to do with the basic attitude and the basic emphasis.
Can I point this out? What I'm saying to you is that Atalji had the breadth of vision to realize Musharraf has compulsions. I can't narrow it down so that he gets embarrassed when he leaves. Atalji said, therefore, meet Hurriyat. I don't mind. But Mr. Modi, having got the UFA victory in his hands, which is so much more important, threw it away over two silly things. One, don't meet Hurriyat when Hurriyat don't count. And secondly, don't talk about Kashmir when they were going to talk about Kashmir, not NSA to NSA, but when Mr. Aziz called on Mr. Modi, which is a separate thing. इतनी छोटी चीजों के पीछे
No, I don't think.
UFA
The whole country is united on the government's side on this issue because the way Pakistan behaved after magnanimity shown by Modi ji, right from calling them on swearing in ceremony and other occasions, we value Pakistan's relationship with India and we value that our neighbors should prosper and should not be disturbed.
But now getting the relationship back on the rails after the climactic collapse of the talks that were supposed to happen is so much more difficult. You made your own problem worse.
I think Pakistan will learn from this.
You hope.
Yes.
I'm going to come back to that question I began with. There's a whole list of problems that you're suffering. I'm not going to repeat them, but you know them. We've discussed each and every one of them. Isn't this just like a plane flying through serious turbulence and the pilot says to the passengers, fasten your seat belts, but the plane shakes and passengers begin to worry, yaar, maut to nahi aa rahi. I'm not saying you're anywhere near maut, right? But you're flying through serious turbulence and the pilot has told the passengers, fasten seat belts, and the passengers are holding their seats and gritting their teeth.
No, but that's a natural phenomena. In politics also, there are periods and there are decisions and there are occasions when you may feel that there is turbulence. But what matters is safe landing and safe takeoff.
So you accept one thing. We are going through turbulence. This is natural for governments. But what you're saying
that's
is
for politics.
The safe landing is more important.
Yeah.
Is the pilot of the plane in complete control?
Absolute control.
The RSS is meeting this week. The Prime Minister is going to be accounting to the RSS about his government. Will he get approval from the RSS or will Mr. Bhagwat toko him?
No, let me tell you again, in a one word, that our relationship with RSS is always that we are one part of ideological family where we consult with each other and where we take inspiration from RSS.
और अगर वो टोके भी आप प्यार से मान लेंगे अगर टोके भी तो आप प्यार से मान लेंगे
but they don't interfere in government affairs and we have always free discussion and consultation.
All right, Mr. Javadekar, you've answered all my questions and let me point out you are the first government minister and so far the only government minister who has been prepared to answer these questions and I thank you for that.
Thank you. Thank you.